The campaign by the Republicans was high pitched, far more aggressive than Kamala Harris. But there was one thing which it's a parallel I'm trying to draw, which we witnessed in India in 14 and 2019. The campaign was around Modi. You like him, you don't like him. If he's there, the foreign policy is going to be like this. If he's in there, the foreign policy is going like this. Do you think that this election was revolving around Trump and perhaps he benefited from it?
Well, I'm sitting in Moscow, and I doubt there are very many people in Moscow doing what we're doing here, and that is breathlessly following the returns. Official Moscow, perhaps unlike people in Europe and even in India, long since lost interest in who wins. I think the Russians probably prefer Trump. I think there'll be some satisfaction if they wake up. I mean, it's early morning now, but in a few hours, if it's clear that Trump has taken it, there'll be some satisfaction, but there won't be standing ovations in the Duma the way there were 8 years ago, uh, because Russia has decided that nothing's going to change in terms of Russia's relationship with the West. Trump can't solve the Ukraine war, and they don't want him to. Russia wants to solve it on its own terms. And as for diplomatic relations, the kind of outlook Russia has is with the BRICS, with the global South, the countries that it's forging new ties with. So I'm sorry to pour cold water on this, but at least from Moscow, nobody cares whether it's Harris or Trump. Although on balance, probably they prefer Trump, not for the reasons they did 8 years ago, because they hoped that he would bring in a new era of better relations, but just because they see him as the more disruptive character who will emphasize the decline of the United States in the world.
Wasn't Trump more predisposed towards Mr. Putin?
I personally think that's nonsense, this close relationship between Putin and Trump. I think it's mainly made up in the United States, where Democrats particularly cannot understand the Republican mindset. They can't understand how half the population of the United States could vote for Trump, as you said, a convicted felon, and he's a loathsome character in a lot of ways. And they see it. They see half the population, the Republican half, as aliens. And that's easy then to think where it must be coming from Moscow or something. But this idea, I don't know what Russian secret services get up to, whether they're fiddling around on Facebook and so on, but they can't possibly be pushing the needle of American politics toward one or the other. It's just not physically, not capable. There are very few Russians who even understand American politics, much less be able to get in there and mess with the minds of Americans in all these swing states. It's just not a thing. This Russia being to blame for Trump, or Russia or Trump having close relations with Putin. He doesn't, and the Russians have already had 4 years of Trump. They've seen the clown show that happens, the complete circus that the relationship turns into, and that was the worst 4 years of their lives as far as relations with the United States go. So I think, some time ago, Putin said he prefers Kamala Harris. Uh, and everybody thought he was trolling, uh, and maybe he was, but actually the Russians would rather have a consistent, predictable, sane figure at the helm in the United States, even if it's hostile to Russia, than the capricious uh, person that Trump can clearly be.